Well, I'm Josh Croning, Las Sendas resident, and I'm here with Tyson from the Mesa Fire Department, and he's here to talk about the Firewise program. I went to a Firewise event here at Las Sendas a couple weeks ago, and I was really impressed. It's something that everybody should know about, and it can save your house, and it can even save you some money. So we're going to tell you all you need to know today. Tyson, you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
So Tyson Matheny, I work for Mesa Fire and Medical Department. I've worked for the city for about 10 years, 10 years in November. Started my career up in the White Mountains in Heber Overguard, early 2000s. That was my first job in the fire service. Worked as a firefighter EMT, worked my way through the paramedic program, ended up moving back down to the valley, went to work for a private ambulance company for a handful of years. At that point, I kind of stepped out of the EMS, fire and EMS world for a little bit, did some other things, and then was brought back into the foray with Mesa Fire as a fire inspector. Worked as a fire inspector for a handful of years, eventually joined the investigation team. So I work now as a fire inspector, fire investigator. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, Firewise was presented to me.
Okay.
And I initially said, no, thank you. I'm busy enough. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I was the only person in the office that had any wildland firefighting experience. So when I worked for Heber Overguard, we would spend the summers on a wildland team going out around the state, putting out wildfires. So I was the only person in our office that had any wildland firefighting experience. So they said, well, you're the perfect fit. You can speak the language, talk the talk, walk the walk, as they say.
Yeah.
So I got involved in the Firewise program, and the more I learned about it and the more involved I got in it, the more passionate I became about what this program is and what it does for communities. And now I'm 100% in all the way. I love it. I love talking about it. I love working on it every day.
Cool.
So that's kind of my background. Stayed in Arizona until I was 19, left for 2 years to go to Wyoming, chasing some rodeo dreams, and then ended up stopping in Vegas for a weekend and stayed 8 years. After 8 years, I decided it's time to come back to Arizona. I missed Arizona, so I came back and never looked back, and don't ever want to leave Arizona ever again.
No, I love it here. And Heber Overguard, especially, that's a pretty area. I like the climate up there, and we're almost getting to the months where that's a good place to go on the weekends.
It really is.
It's beautiful and it's cool and it's fun to explore. And I don't know if that forest up there is naturally that thin, but if you go, dispersed camping out in the woods, you can easily navigate those woods. There's not a lot of undergrowth and brush or anything really.
Around that Heber Overguard area, that's pretty much natural. They did have the rodeo Chetaskai fire come through there early 2000s, right before I started with Heber Overguard. It's one of the biggest fires in the history of the state of Arizona.
Really?
Guesstimating here, but I think it was around 300,000 acres, a little over 300,000 acres. I haven't looked at that number in a long time.
The one that was up by Saguaro Lake of maybe 2020 or so, that one was a really big one too, wasn't it?
It was. That started off the beeline, actually, from a car fire. And then jumped the highway and just kind of took off to the races, went all the way towards Roosevelt, went up over the Four Peaks. That was a big fire.
That left a huge scar.
Yes.
It still looks kind of nasty out there.
It does look bad up there.
But I mean, if something like that can happen there, if we're not careful, it can happen anywhere, right?
It can happen anywhere. And that's the thing with wildfire is it can pop up anywhere. All it takes is what we call our dry lightning events that we have here in Arizona, where we get the lightning during the monsoons, but we don't get the rain. So that lightning strikes the ground, ignites something, and then it starts to spread from there. We know with the microburst, we can clock winds up to 100 miles an hour.
At least they're not sustained for days like
Correct.
Santa Ana wind or whatever they get in California.
Yeah, that gets pretty bad there.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about what the Firewise program is and kind of what it entails for communities to get Firewise certified, to the best of your knowledge?
It's pretty simple, actually.
Okay.
The Firewise program was designed by the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA for short, several years ago, where they started looking at wildfire and how it got into neighborhoods. And they started realizing that it was the blowing embers that were blowing into these neighborhoods and igniting available fuel beds all over the neighborhood, around houses. And they started looking at what they could do to prevent that from happening. And they came up with the Firewise program, where they empower and educate homeowners on what they can do around their homes to prevent those embers from finding those available fuel beds and igniting combustible materials around the house, on the house, and setting houses on fire.
Okay.
So they developed the Firewise program and started rolling it out. And because it's only a handful of years old, it's really starting to take off now. We're starting to see it explode across the country.
Now's a good time, because I know a lot of people, especially like Heber, Overguard, a lot of those people are having a hard time getting homeowners insurance.
Absolutely. The insurance industry is starting to recognize the Firewise program more and more these days. The best thing a homeowner can do is call their insurance company and ask, is there a break that I can get for being in a Firewise recognized neighborhood? We are learning, insurance companies are starting to wake up to that and starting to listen to the homeowners and starting to understand they can't just use a Google Earth map to assess a property.
True.
There's homeowners that are doing mitigation work around their homes. They're doing all of the Firewise related type of stuff around their homes, making their homes ready for that ember attack. And it's slowly changing. I went to a Wild and Urban Interface Summit up in Prescott a few months back, end of last year. And the first day of that conference was the insurance industry presenting, hey, we're starting to recognize Firewise as a good program and what it's doing and how it's benefiting our insured residences.
Cool. Well, can I tell you some of my experience with it?
Absolutely.
So a couple weeks ago, we had the event here at Las Sendas promoting the Firewise program, and you did a great job putting it on. And that's what really sparked my interest, no pun intended. But when you mentioned some homeowners insurance giving breaks, my experience, I have USAA on my house, and that was one of the companies that you had mentioned. And so a couple days after that meeting, I called, and it was maybe a 5-minute phone call. And they gave me a 5% premium reduction, which translates to about $300 a year.
Wow.
So, I mean, with the rising cost of everything, you know, it's kind of nice to just get a phone, 5-minute call, and you get a little bit of a break. And then I also called into the main office here, the HOA office. And actually, it was a form I filled out online. I filled out a form online on the Firewise website through the HOA to request an inspector. We've got some volunteer inspectors here in Las Sendas that'll come out and look at your house, and they'll give you recommendations, and that's the key word, recommendations on things that you can do to make your house and your yard a little bit safer, kind of protect it from those embers you're talking about.
Correct.
And so my experience was I had some propane tanks close to the house. It's a no-no. So they said, maybe put them kind of by your pool pump. That's kind of a place that's kind of away from the house. And it's still protected. They're still out of sight, but they're not next to the house. So that's great. I moved those propane tanks. They pointed out a few branches on like some mesquite trees that weren't touching the house, but they were maybe 5 feet from the roof. And so in my experience, anytime you got branches touching a house, it's a problem. They'll wear a hole through paint. They'll cause problems, and they'll also drop little leaves in the valleys, and water can't shed, and it causes problems. So they pointed out some recommendations. Whether or not I do them is up to me. I still get the discount, but at least I know what needs to be addressed in my yard. And I thought that was really cool that we have people right here in the neighborhood that volunteer their time, come out and promote this program.
Correct. So what you're talking about is the home assessor program.
Yeah.
So the NFPA and the Department of Forestry and Fire Management, which is our Arizona State Fire Marshal's office, and they do a lot of different things as well. But they're the state representative for the Firewise program.
Okay.
So I work in close proximity with the DFFM to manage all of the Firewise stuff for the city of Mesa. They host several times a year around the state. I try to host at least 2 to 3 of these events a year in Mesa. Okay. We bring homeowners in, and we teach them how to become a home assessor so that they can then go around their communities and they can do those home assessments and give those recommendations based on the set of criteria that we teach them. So the class is completely free. We encourage all homeowners to do it so that they can have that home assessment background and understand what they're looking at. But we come in, we bring them in, and we give them a full class, a full day of class, And then we try to get 2 homes in a community that we can go out and visit and walk around with everybody.
Okay.
And they actually get to practice what they just learned. And we're walking with them, answering questions, pointing things out to them. At the end of that, they become a home assessor, and now they can do those home assessments within their own community.
Okay.
It's a great program. It's a way for the community to give back to their own community members.
Yeah.
And it takes some of the resource of the pressure off of me, being the city level guy, having to come out and do all of those home assessments. So we just empower and educate those homeowners to do that themselves.
And I don't think so. The guys that came out were Nick and Buddy. And I don't know if either one of them was retired, but it seemed like it'd be kind of a cool hobby for someone who's retired.
Absolutely.
Maybe looking for something to do.
Absolutely.
A couple home assessments a week.
Yeah.
You get to meet people and kind of point some things out. And they even went on the other side of my wall and walked through the wash. If they had any concerns back there, if it looked like a potential problem, maybe I could call the HOA office here and see if they could have someone come out and clear, something dead that might cause trouble.
So one key thing that we're learning with the Firewise program is a lot of the homeowners think that to be Firewise, the community has to do that mitigation work in those common areas or those wash areas. And that's not the scope of the Firewise program.
Good.
The Firewise program is really about that parcel level. So that homeowner's piece of property.
Okay.
It's about what they're doing around their home to get their homes ready for that ember attack. If your community decides that they want to do some mitigation work in those common areas, wash areas, or we call them NAOSs, natural areas of open space, that's an added bonus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's no requirement of the Firewise program for a community to do that mitigation work in those common areas.
Oh, wow.
That it is strictly an added bonus, which most of the communities that we're seeing in Mesa are saying, yes, we want to do that. We want to also do that mitigation work on top of getting the homeowners, getting their homes hardened.
Okay. So I know that Crystal, that works for our HOA here up at the office, she was a big part of getting Las Sendas on the Firewise program or Firewise certified. Do you know how much work that was or what she had to do to get that done?
So actually joining the Firewise program is not labor intensive.
Okay.
To get your community recognized, there's a few steps you have to go through. The first step is we do a community assessment. So myself and Chris Reed right now with DFFM, he comes out to Mesa and him and I go through the community. We do assessment based on level of vegetation, health of the vegetation, the exits in the community, making sure people can get out if they have to. We roll a lot of things into that, structures, construction type. We look at a lot of different things and we give us a community assessment based on high, medium, or low risk. Once that's done, then we move into the community action plan, which is a document that we have the community prepare. And we help them with that process as well. It's a very labor intensive document. That part is actually a little bit labor intensive. What we're looking at is past fire behavior in the area, typical weather conditions for the area, what directions the winds blow, how much rain that area typically gets. We rely on a lot of historical weather data to gather that information. Community action plan, how are they going to alert residents in the case of an emergency? What are going to be the evacuation routes and plans? It's a pretty all-encompassing document. Once those things are done, we create the NFPA portal for that community. We get all of the information included, including contact information for our point of contact for the community. Once all of that's done, you now have your portal, and that's where the community will then go in and start to log the volunteer hours. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky explaining. When it comes to that Firewise recognition, it's based on a financial meet. Okay. No money has to be spent. And this is the tricky part. It gets where it gets people tripped up a little bit. If you, Josh, say, I'm going to go volunteer an hour of my time, the federal government says that you should be paid $33, and I think it's 49 cents right now. They say that's what your 1 hour of volunteer work should net you. So the NFPA said, well, we'll just use the federal recommendation on 1 hour of volunteer work. So if you go out to your house and you do 1 hour of Firewise related work around your home, Crystal can then add $33.49 towards her portal to get her financial meet. Now, not every homeowner is going to go out and do 1 hour of work.
Mhm.
And that financial meet is based on the number of homes inside that community.
Okay.
So I don't have the exact numbers with me, but if we take all of the homes in Las Sendas,
3,400. There's a lot.
so 3,400 times 3,349,
Okay.
that number is what the financial meet is. So again,
okay.
if every homeowner in Las Sendas does 1 hour of
Okay.
a year, 1 hour a year of volunteer work around their home towards the Firewise model, they would never have to spend $1 to hit that financial meet.
That's what it needs. So that's where I went. That's the portal, I believe, is where I went to request the assessment.
Yep.
And then I also remembered that I have already trimmed trees for my house this year, specifically with fire in mind and just keeping them away from the house.
Correct.
So I put those hours in, and it took no time at all. And we can put the link for that
Super
portal
simple.
on the
very simple
video here. And it was very easy. They didn't ask for my social security number or anything like that. It just was log your hours and honor system. And, I just put in, every weekend I'm
and
trees
there's
somewhere.
a whole list that's available of all of the work that can be done. We won't get deep into it, but
Okay.
it's stuff as simple as raking the leaves and the debris away from the house,
Yep.
making sure there's nothing combustible within 5 feet of the house.
Yep.
Changing out the screening on all of your external vents. So
Yep.
typically contractors will put in 1/4-inch mesh, wire mesh
Yeah.
on gable end vents and mechanical room vents.
Yep.
We like to see minimum 1/8 inch.
Keep the
that
sparks
just keeps
out.
those embers from blowing into those spaces
Okay.
and igniting things. So when it comes back to that financial meet, we know that not every single homeowner is going to do 1 hour of work a year.
Mhm.
But you have some homeowners that are going to do 10 hours, some homeowners that are going to do 50 hours of work
Yep.
a year. So all of that gets combined into that number. And the beautiful thing about Las Sendas is they're doing that mitigation work with a contractor as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
a lot of it.
Las Sendas, for example, will never have a problem meeting that financial meet to keep that recognition status. And it's the thing about Firewise is it's not a one and done program. It's not
Right.
once you get your recognition, you're done. You can stop doing
Okay.
everything. You have to do that work every single year to keep that recognition.
So in order for homeowners that live here to keep their discount and their premium, we need to stay on the program. In order to stay on the program, we need
Correct.
buy-in, and people need to be engaged with the program, get those assessments, log their hours. That's really it. It's really not a lot of work, but we need to do it.
It's not a lot of work. It's a very simple process. And the best thing about doing that work is it just improves the look and the feel and the safety of your home.
Sure.
And if we think about it, I tell this to a lot of people, our homes are typically the biggest investment that we make.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we not want to do what we can to protect our biggest investment that we make in our lifetime?
Yeah. And even with good insurance, a house fire is not something you want.
It is not something you want.
It's a long process. I've got experience with it. And if your house burns down today, it's going to probably be at least a year, probably 2 years before you get a house built back on that lot.
That is a fact.
And
it is a long process with the permits and the construction and all of that stuff. It takes a lot to get it rebuilt.
And you know what? Here's another thing. When you call your insurance company to ask about the discount for the Firewise program, review your limits with them. If you ever do have a fire, you do want to make sure you're properly insured. And that's something you can ask while you're on the phone. It's just, hey, what are the limits I'm dealing with? Should I have a house fire? Do I have enough money to rebuild that house?
Speaking of insurance, what did your insurance require of you to get that discount?
Nothing. I told them, I called, I have USAA. That's one that we talked about at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I called, put in my PIN, got on the phone with a representative, and USAA doesn't have agents, so I didn't call an agent. I just called the main number, and I said, hey, my community is Firewise certified. Is that the right word?
Recognized.
Firewise recognized. And they knew what I was talking about. And they said, okay, let me look at this. And they put me on hold for 2 to 3 minutes. And when they came back, they said, okay, your previous premium was $1,900 a year. Your new premium's 16 something. So it was about a $300 discount. I didn't have to send anything in. I didn't have to email anybody. I didn't have to call back. I didn't have to call Crystal. I didn't have to call them back. It was one call. It was $300.
So every Firewise community that becomes recognized goes into a national database.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's how they verified that, is they looked it up and said, yes,
That must be what they were doing.
Las Sendas is a Firewise recognized community.
Which, I mean, like you said, it benefits insurance companies and it benefits us. It really is a good program. And it benefits you guys because you're not coming out here for as many fire issues, I would assume.
Right.
And that's another cool thing. You showed us at the meeting some of your drone footage. You want to tell us a little about the technology you have?
That is amazing technology.
I was blown away. It was really cool.
I call it magic because I don't really understand how it works.
20 years ago, it would have been magic.
So we came up with this idea about a year ago, not quite a year ago, of using drones to help us do the wildfire assessments for all of these communities. Prior to the drone, I would have to come out to the community and walk as much as I could and make notes and then take all of that back to the office and sit down and try to make sense of what areas I was talking about. We were using an iPad with an app called Field Maps.
Okay.
And it would let me draw some shapes and I could make some notes, but it was still very labor intensive.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's very time consuming to try to walk all of the wash areas, all of the little park areas, trying to get as much data as I could about the vegetation around a house. It was a very painstaking process.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, can we use a drone for this? So we started doing some research, and what I found out was the agricultural industry is actually using drones with this multispectral technology that I'm using to look at their crop health.
That's what started that technology.
That's what started the technology. So the farmers are using it to be able to fly their entire fields and determine what areas need fertilizer rather than having to crop dust and fertilize the entire acreage. They're able to now go in and hotspot where they need it and not spend the money crop dusting and fertilizing where they don't need it.
That's great technology.
So when we started looking at this technology, my thought process was a plant is a plant is a plant.
Yeah.
Whether it's a desert mesquite bush, whether it's a desert mesquite tree, whether it's a palo verde tree, whether it's a creosote bush, it doesn't matter. It's still giving off the same information. We're looking at chlorophyll, nitrogen levels, we're looking at the moisture, and we're looking at the density.
From how high up?
200 feet is what I typically
fly. It gets all that data?
It gets all of that data.
Isn't that amazing?
So the multispectral sensor that I'm using on this drone has 6 lenses. It's looking at 6 different bands of light. It's invisible to the naked eye. We see all of those, a lot of those bands combined. And our brain automatically processes that, gives us the view that we have. But this is looking at each band separately. We take all of that data, we put it into the computer, and I say this is where the magic happens. The computer reads all of that. The algorithms and the software know what to do with all of that information, and it outputs a beautiful map for us that gives us our moisture content of all of the vegetation. It looks at that chlorophyll and nitrogen level, tells us how healthy the plant is, whether it's diseased, healthy, dead, or dying. We can tell all of that information from this drone data.
Wow. So was that advertised as what you're using it for? Or
no.
Was it? So are you one of the first to do this?
We as far as the GIS tech with Tim Wilcoxon that I work with, as far as I can tell, we are the first people who are using the drone in this manner.
Oh, that's really
cool. We have networked, we have researched, we have talked to everybody that we can. We have not been able to find anybody who's doing this exact thing with the drone. We found other governmental entities that are doing similar projects, but nobody is taking this data set and doing what we're doing as far as wildfire mitigation work.
That's great job. That's really cool.
It was just something that we thought this should work, and it is working, and it's working fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
The data sets that we're getting out of this are amazing. We can now sit at a desktop and we can assess an entire community just by moving the map around, and we can drill down to an exact bush or exact tree. This is not a 200-foot view where we have to guess what tree or bush we're looking at. We can actually zoom right down in on top of that bush and see what the health is, see what the moisture content is.
Oh my gosh. So in the old days, you'd have to walk. So Las Sendas, I know, to walk all the way around just the perimeter would be probably 8 miles, I would think.
At least.
and then all the washes in between.
It's a lot of steps.
And by the time you get done, new stuff has grown, new
Yeah.
things have died. It's totally different. Wow.
Yep. So
that's wonderful.
It takes months of walking down to probably a solid month to fly all of Las Sendas and get all of that data, and then a couple of weeks to process all of that data into the computer system and then get those outputs.
And you do it by enclave? Is that how you do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Las Sendas we're doing by enclave, just because of the size of Las Sendas. We're breaking it down and doing each enclave. So if you're out and about and you see a really big drone flying through the sky, it's me.
I saw it the other day, and it's probably this big, you think?
Yeah,
it's pretty big. And I think you landed it right on the bed of your truck when I saw you. It's a pretty precise piece of equipment. I was impressed just seeing it.
It really is. It's a great drone. We're using a large platform just because it can fly up to 122 degrees ambient air temperature.
Oh, okay.
Most of the drones are limited to 104. So we chose this bigger platform for the extended ambient air temperature flight range.
And think about that. Let's hope we don't get up to 122. Jeez.
I would be okay if we don't.
Yeah, me too. This is all fascinating, and it's stuff that directly benefits people that live in Las Sendas. It helps you. It helps the National Firewise program to take off, which is a good program.
Yeah.
It sounds incredible. It's so easy. People just, calling your homeowner's insurance, you can do that independent of getting your home assessed. You can call your homeowner's insurance tomorrow and then get your home assessed and then log those hours, because it's the best way for us to stay on that program.
How long did that home assessment take?
Well, I obviously like to talk, so I walked with them the whole time and talked with them the whole time. But they probably could have gotten out of there in half an hour maybe. And they told me some things about the construction of the house. If you reach your hand kind of under the stucco, there's a layer of styrofoam board that is a petroleum product.
It is.
So it can light right up. So keep those weeds away from your house. Keep, dead debris away from the house. They pointed all that stuff out. They probably could have got out in half an hour. They might have been there 45 minutes.
How much did it cost you? It
cost me nothing.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And
it's a free assessment.
And I know a lot about houses, and there's little things that I hadn't thought of, like the propane tanks is an obvious one, but I don't know where else to put those things. You don't want them in your garage. You don't want them in the middle of the yard. You don't want them anywhere where you can see them. By the pool pump is a great spot.
Yep.
So little things like that were great knowledge.
Yeah, it's just little key things that we don't think about all the time that those home assessors are going to point out. Not storing your patio furniture up against your house.
That's another one. Yep.
If you're going to leave for the summer, if you're going to leave for a 2 or 3 week vacation, take those pads from that outdoor furniture, put the pads in your garage.
A lot of those are petroleum product too, aren't they?
They are, where they're not going to get those embers landing on them.
Yep.
Not stacking your firewood for your chimenea. Don't stack that against your house.
Yep.
Take that out to the back wall.
Yep. We used to have a pile of firewood, and then my wife saw rats living in it, so we don't have a pile of firewood anymore.
But those home assessors, they're just going to point out some basic things that each homeowner can do. It's simple work. When it comes to that Firewise hardening work around the home, it doesn't even have to be you that goes out and does the work. You can actually hire a contractor to come in and change out those wire meshes. You can have a landscaping company on top of the community's landscaping company. You can have somebody come out and do the tree trimming for you.
Sure.
All of that time gets logged. And the money that you spend paying that contractor also gets logged towards that portal.
Goes towards our hours.
It does.
Oh, that's great. Well, Tyson, is there anything else you want to mention about the program?
Please get involved with the community events. It's a great way to get out and meet the neighbors, and it's a great way to give back to the community. We're always looking for community members to come out and do the community cleanups. Just this past week here in Las Sendas, we had Department of Forestry and Fire Management come out, and with a crew, they actually did some mitigation work along the roadways. If you're driving around through Mountain Ridge and Saddleback, you'll see some of the work that was done. They took, I think it was around 15 tons of vegetation out in one day.
And did we pay for that, or was that all out of the goodness of their hearts?
That was funded by DFFM.
Okay.
So DFFM this year has taken some money and reallocated the funds for these community projects for the
cool.
Firewise communities.
Yep.
So it cost us, the community of Las Sendas, $0. That was all paid for by DFFM.
If we had been on the Firewise program, would we have still gotten that, do you think?
They are trying to, I believe, limit it to communities who are doing the Firewise program.
Oh,
just as a way to give back to those communities to say, hey, thank you for doing what you're doing with the Firewise
I mean,
program.
that was probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of work they did.
100%.
There was, what, 20 guys out there working all day?
I believe there were between 30 and 40.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they worked from 8 a.m. and up until 2 p.m.
That's a big deal. That's a really cool thing that they do to keep people on the program.
It's a great program. It's DFFM is really stepping up this year and really giving back to the communities who are involved in the Firewise program.
Wow. Cool. Anything else, Tyson?
I think that's it.
All right. Hey, it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for talking.